Hey guys, Paul here. So today we're going to be having another critical Yu-Gi-Oh conversation about the idea of onboarding products. So that's products that are meant to introduce Yu-Gi-Oh to people, teach them how to play the game, and eventually funnel them into the wider game of Yu-Gi-Oh that we all know and love. The reason why I'm talking about it today is because this month is when Konami is going to be releasing its two-player starter set. So this is a single product that actually contains two separate decks, and it's meant to teach people how to play Yu-Gi-Oh through a sort of guided game that's like written out like a manga or sort of comic book, right? So it's going to take you through a scripted duel that will teach you the different Yu-Gi-Oh mechanics, and you are intended to do this with like a friend or family member, so two people can play and like learn how to play Yu-Gi-Oh and all that stuff, and be happy and have fun. So this product was announced last year. It was actually supposed to be released last year, but it got delayed for who knows why. Really, I guess we had enough products to deal with last year. But anyway, yeah, so we got a little early look at a few of the cards in the product. Like we knew that it was going to have Divine Arsenal AA Zeus and Manatium Prime Heart. So that also lets us know that they're going to be teaching how to use like Xyz summons and Synchro summons and all that in this product. But we didn't really know too much else of what to expect. We eventually found out that like Eldritch comes in the product, and so recently we got like a look at a few more cards in it, like Eldritch, but also we saw Dark Magician, Elemental Hero Sparkman, and then some older cards like Swords of Revealing Light and Magic Cylinder. And so it sparked a little bit of controversy, not like huge, but just people talking about, these reveals. And people were sort of expressing a bit of disappointment with the product. Disappointment in the sense that, well, it feels like another one of those Yu-Gi-Oh products. And by those Yu-Gi-Oh products, I mean a very, 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 very low power starter deck that can sort of teach you the very basics of the game, but does not accurately represent the way that modern Yu-Gi-Oh is played today. So sure, Elemental Hero Sparkman looks cool and might remind you of Yu-Gi-Oh GX, but nobody, and I mean nobody, is playing Elemental Hero Sparkman in 2024. I mean, they weren't even playing it 10 years ago. They were barely playing it even when it released. So, why are they kind of using these cards in order to teach the game when if you play a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament today, even locals kind of casually for fun, you're just not going to encounter Dark Magician, Magic Cylinder, stuff like that. So what do? Well, I think that the reason why they did this is obviously because there's a little bit of nostalgia pandering there. People recognize GX, people recognize, Duel Monsters era stuff. So throwing in like a Cyber Dragon in there, for instance, to sort of teach like inherent special summons or summons that don't start chains or whatever, like that kind of makes sense. Cyber Dragon's always been the card to do that. But it would probably be a little bit better to teach that with a card like Dino Wrestler Pankratops or Kashtira Fenrir that are at least more modern cards that you can actually expect to see. And let's face it, nobody's playing, Magic Cylinder or Swords of Revealing Light in 2024, even in the most casual of decks. So these cards can certainly teach concepts, I guess, but like, Magic Cylinder can be burn damage, but also you're just not going to encounter anything like it. And the game of Yu-Gi-Oh that we're supposedly going to probably be getting here based on what we know at least so far. Obviously, we haven't seen the full list of what comes in these decks, but the game of Yu-Gi-Oh that you'll be playing, the scripted game, will just seem like easy and kind of slow-paced and fun maybe, but it just like you'll go to your first tournament and get washed. So, like I said, we don't know the full deck list of these products. We don't know what other cards will be included in it. I know some people were upset because they felt that this was going to be an opportunity to reprint some competitive like meta staples, and who's to say that might still be the case. They might put in some infinite impermanences, some Ash Blossoms, some triple tactics cards or something like that. But I think that the bigger elephant in the room here is this product going to do a good job of teaching somebody Yu-Gi-Oh? Is it going to, show them Yu-Gi-Oh in a way that seems fun and engaging, but also actually prepares them for what they can expect to find when they step out and like play against real people? And it got me thinking, well, I don't know that it's going to really do a great job. I'm predicting it will probably be middling at best. I'm certainly going to pick it up and try it out and probably make a full video on that. But it made me wonder, what is a good Yu-Gi-Oh onboarding product exactly? Like, what would make a good one? Because we know what maybe doesn't make a good one, giving somebody starter deck Yu-Gi in 2024, right? That's probably not very great. But I was like, well, how do you teach somebody? And I'm not trying to talk about the whole, like, there's a bazillion rules and the combos last forever. Like, that's certainly a part of it. But what I mean more so is so many parts of Yu-Gi-Oh! Today are almost about learning a little bit of, like, breaking the rules, if that makes any sense. So like take some of your favorite archetypes from the last few years, like any of them at all, right, that have just been released in deck builder sets or whatever. Like let's take Centurion, right? That's from Valiant Smashers. Or you could take like, Vanquish Souls or Nouvelles or something from Wild Survivors. No matter where you look, pretty much every archetype in Yu-Gi-Oh today kind of dances to the beat of its own drum. You know what I mean? Like every archetype's got its own sort of set of like gimmicks or mechanics that are largely unique to it. So what this two-player starter deck can't really teach you about is how Pirelli works. These Xyz monsters, it can teach you how Xyz summoning works, sure. It might even teach you how to like summon Zeus over a monster, but it's not gonna really like go into the very specific part of like how Pirelli and only Pirelli has these spell cards that kind of go underneath the monsters. They're quick play spells. They go underneath the monsters as material, and then they give the monster extra effects, and like it's a kind of a Pirelli only thing. And the same goes for Vanquish Soul with like revealing like attributes in hand, and then like the balancing thing, or certainly like Centurion where like the monsters go to the spell and trap zone, but also they're traps, not just monsters. So that's like its own sort of separate mechanic and gimmick. And it's not like any of these archetypes are like, too hard to learn in a vacuum, but like when you learn them, you're just learning them. You're just learning Pirelli, you're just learning Vanquish Soul, you're just learning Centurion, you're just learning Valence, or, whatever. There's so many different archetypes that have come out, and they all kind of tend to work this way. So I don't know that there's like a one-size-fits-all approach to learning Yu-Gi-Oh! In 2024 that really would apply here. So instead of just complaining about it and presenting a problem, I actually think that there is something of a solution here. And I think it actually sort of, I would say at least, caters to both sides. It has a little bit of that like nostalgia pandering DM stuff that everybody knows and loves, but also can use realistic, new elements of the game that are played today. Here's what I came up with. Starter decks, Dark Magician, and Blue Eyes, but here's the twist. Dark Magician branded, Blue Eyes Bystials. Yes? No? Here's why I think that could actually be a pretty good thing. So we know that like people hate when nostalgia is just like all over the place. Another Dark Magician thing, another Blue Eyes thing. But we actually know that a Dark Magician branded deck is like a thing that can work today. People have made like, kind of casual for fun Dark Magician branded decks, but it's like a playable thing. It can work really well. There's spellcaster support built into the branded archetype, and branded fusion can actually work surprisingly well with Dark Magician even. And that's pretty cool. And then also, Blue Eyes merge extremely well with Bystials. They're dragons. Bystial Magnamut can search for Blue Eyes and other support cards. The Blue Eyes monsters are light, so they'll always have something to banish. And there's a lot of synergy in both of those concepts. But also, Branded and Bystials, outside of working together just fine as their own deck, actually do really, really well to sort of show people how modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Is played, right? Branded is like a modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Theming. You can expand past Dark Magician and just build a pure branded deck. There's a bunch of different varieties of branded, but just the general power level is all there, right? You can use your fusion deployments and stuff. You can use your branded fusions. You've got, Guiding Quim, Blazing Cartesia, all of the Bystial cards if you want to add those in. And branded fusion, of course, is really strong. There's Mirror Jade and Lubellion. They can work with your Dark Magician deck, but they don't even really have to because they can also be their own thing. I think it would combine really well to give people an experience of playing Dark Magician that is high power level and represents modern Yu-Gi-Oh!, but also still like teach them modern Yu-Gi-Oh! In the process. And the same goes for Blue Eyes Bystial, where you could kind of lean in more to the Blue Eyes side in your sealed kind of starter structure deck or whatever product that you make, just to kind of keep it feeling casual and surface level and like kind of, low heat, but also like the Bystial cards can disrupt the opposing Dark Magician deck by banishing their Dark Magician, and also they're like dragons, so that's kind of cool and it's thematically on point. And I think like you get those together, and now you're not having to necessarily like throw somebody into the deep end of, okay, please play this Bystial Tearlaments Horus hybrid punk deck thing that like does 50 different combos and has like a billion lines of play. But you can still play your Dark Magician, you can play your Blue Eyes, but hey, here's some like new cards that can kind of work really well with them. Maybe even throw in an extra ad campaign where you get like Dan Green and Eric Stewart, sometimes they'll have their voices for like Duel Links promos and stuff. Maybe they do a little commercial where it's like Yugi and Kaiba are playing Dark Magician and they're playing Blue Eyes, but they found out these really strong new cards that you can add into it and to kind of play it in the modern age. I think there could really be something there. And more than anything, if you put that as like a two-player product, right? Dark Mission, Blue Eyes, two-player thing. It costs like 20 bucks. You get 2 decks. It's designed for 2 people. Actually include duplicate cards for consistency's sake. That can help really too. Like the legendary, like Yugi's legendary decks. I don't know if anybody remembers those products. But anyway, I think that would be a really great thing to do. Either way, though, I'm still going to hold out some hope for these new products that they're releasing. The 2-player starter set, I am still looking forward to getting my hands on it, making a video about it, seeing if they do decide to include some more advanced concepts in there, if there are some noteworthy reprints. But I think that it is an issue that Yu-Gi-Oh! Has, is like that, like kind of, how do you teach a game where every archetype and every deck is so siloed off? And I thought that maybe that could be an interesting way of doing it. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments, though. I'd love to hear your own suggestions or ideas about this. How do you typically teach, new people Yu-Gi-Oh! If that's something that you do at all? Would my idea work well? Is there something perhaps better? Do you think that these 2-player decks are maybe a little bit dated in their approach, or do you think it's actually best to teach people using, Elemental Hero, Sparkman, Swords Revealing Light, Magic Cylinder, just to teach them the basics? Where will they go from there? I don't really know. That might be in the paperwork and the products. They might say, here, buy this next, buy this next. Maybe they'll tell you to buy Rarity Collection. I don't know that they would tell you to buy Age of Overlord. Who knows? Anyways, that's it for the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Oh, and by the way, a new episode of Pot of Greed tomorrow. We're a little behind schedule, but we'll be back to full, perfect, normal schedule next week. But yeah, tomorrow, premiere, this channel. Okay, that's it. See you guys in the next one. Fast turn.